Oh my god, the shoe bill. I guess I forgot that this thing was in here. It's still just sitting there staring. It's the Watcher. I mean, it's possible. It's on another shard, which the Watcher was connected to. It could be the Watcher, theoretically, because if the other ones can disguise themselves as animals, why can't the Watcher? And all it does is watch. It stares at you like Monka stares. Just stares. And that would explain why it could be found in the first. But I don't know what happened to the moon here, so there is a moon here, right? Of course. Of course, there's a fucking sandstorm happening. Oh, there's the moon. Moon looks normal. Nothing crazy about the first moon, so that's good. It's not red like the 13th moon. So, theoretically, if no one ventured to the moon on the 1st, like Golbez did on the 13th, then theoretically the first moon could be completely fine, right? What if when we go through the moon, it connects to the first moon? On the 13th, what if the lunar core leads us to a gateway that connects to this moon? That'd be weird. Or a gateway that connects here in general, because that monster that we saw in the preview on the 6.5 website looks like a Sin Eater. Technically, there's probably some near stuff up in orbit. I mean, it seems like it's gonna be like a portal. Be cool if the moon was a nexus point to all the reflections. Morosabe, I kind of feel like it's safe to assume that it is. And the reason why I say that is because the Watcher is
debating to go through Endwalker on my new character now, or finish the Bozia questline.
Oh, finish Bozia. If you haven't done it, oh, Bozia's very good. Radlot, I recommend it. Thanks for the 8 months, bro. I think it's safe to assume that it is Morosabe, and the reason why is because the Watcher is split into a bunch of different dudes, right? So he had to have been distributed to those moons somehow, in my opinion. He has to have a way to get there. And if the moons are all the imprisonment point for Zodiark, it would not surprise me at all if they're all inherently linked together by nature anyway, because they're all actually housing something that is cosmically part of the same being. A super powerful being that had the power to literally bend the laws of creation. So it would not surprise me if the moons are connected to one another. Would not surprise me at all. And it's a safe distance from the planet that if something were to happen to the planet, the moon could theoretically be at a safe distance. I'm starting to think that the only reason why things happened the way they did on the 13th is because Golbez went to the moon. But no one here on the 1st, as far as we're aware, has any operations going on the moon. I don't think, anyway. As far as, like, bad guys or anything. He was moon sealed. So, yeah, I think it very plausible and even likely that, that the moons are linked to one another. And I'm pretty sure that that's just exactly where we're gonna... I mean, that's how we got to the 13th moon. We went through a fucking portal from our moon. So, you know, at this point, it's just basically just like almost confirmed. We've already seen an example of it in practice. I wonder if Loporits are on all the shard's moons. I don't think, well, you never know. If you go down into the moon's core, I don't know. But I don't think they are. They could be. So this is a post from Kyrie Fishing Way at Uwurianje. And I'm not paying for the bird app, so here's my translation of the Dengeki Online article released today. Yoshi-P recommending people play Eden and Warring Triad before 6.5. So listen to this. Question. Next, let me ask you about the MSQ of 6.5. The most surprising thing was that the screenshots announced at the PLL featured Zero and Reen in the first. In the first, there is Unakalai and Ciela, who have story ties to the 13th, even though their story is distanced from the MSQ. Will there be some kind of connection while going through the story? And Yoshi-P says, not just for this patch, but we're making changes to the dialogue and the content depending on whether you've done the quests or not. I think the people who have played those side stories will feel a connection. It's a little more in-depth than we usually do and includes a story about Eden, which changes the cutscene and dialogue if you have completed it. Yes, dude. Yes. 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 Yes, dude. Yes. Eden, Reen, Gaia. Yes, dude. Yes. Yes. And Warring Triad for Ciela. Yep. Yep. After doing Warring Triad. So yes, that makes sense. Triad and and Eden. With New Game Plus, it's easier to go back and do the story again. So if you're interested, I recommend doing Warring Triad and Eden before the release of 6.5. Chat, we need to have a story day, a story recap day, where we turn on the thing that stops skipping cutscenes that we've seen automatically. So we disable that, and we go and we New Game Plus, and we redo Warring Triad, and we redo Eden. Worth. However, we've avoided making the MSQ experience significantly different depending on whether you've played these quests or not, so there will be no major changes to the plot. It's something for the lore enthusiasts to see and know we're thinking about them. Okay, sick. That's cool. I'm fine with that. It doesn't have to be a big... So they're not going to necessarily be heavily impactful for the MSQ or like altering in that regard, so we might not get the involvement necessarily that we're wanting, but they're going to make a nod to it and they're going to acknowledge it, make sure that we understand that like they haven't forgotten, because it is something that we talk about often. Of like, oh, you know, the Eden stuff, they're not going to make raid side stuff required or for MSQ. Well, technically, yeah, you guys are right. They're not going to make it required, but are they going to make it worth doing so that it changes the context and information or interactions in the story? Yeah, sounds like it, dude. That's fucking sick. That's sick. That sounds great to me. That sounds great to me. So everyone that wants to go and do those storylines and get that extra, all that extra lore, because there really is a lot of information to be drawn from the Eden raid specifically. You know, if you're willing to go and do those and really pay attention and like get invested, then, you know, why does that not affect the, you know, the viewpoint of characters and cosmic knowledge in the game in some capacity? That's fucking awesome. That's right up our alley. That's exactly like the type of thing that we ask for. So that's great, dude. That's awesome. That's fucking sick. I can't wait to see what they're actually gonna do with that. 6.5. So we got to get it done before then. So we got a couple weeks then still, but we'll try to plan for it sooner than later. I'd watch full rerun through both of those. Yeah, I would be excited to do it as well, because now I have way more context on the Warring Triad, because I played FF6 after I ever did any of that stuff. I've also now played FF4, and so I understand more of that universe and that world. So the only one is FF9. So wasn't this Eden from 8? Oh, maybe that's... well, I haven't played 8 either, so my bad. Highlights from recent Yoshi-P interviews, probably worth commenting on. Okay, here we go. It's that time again, patch lead-up time. Time for me to machine translate articles and paraphrase them to give you vaguely correct interpretations of what Yoshi says. This time we have Famitsu and Dengeki. I'll just go through what I personally feel stuff relevant to bring up, but I do see the full articles for all the context. There's more stuff planned for the gap between 6.55 and 7 than they covered at FanFest. They'll talk more about it at the EU one. They need to spread out announcements and stuff since there are 3 FanFests again now. Zero as a character was planned from the start of Endwalker, but was left as a patch-only thing. One of the first main characters developed just through patch content. Different writers write different patch scenarios though, so they needed some oversight from Oda and Ishikawa to keep things consistent. Zeromus will be more of a physical fight instead of a brain training fight. Note, these are machine learning translation terms that come up all the time when talking about XIV interviews. The closest thing is that brain training means puzzly. Yoshi-P did have to ask for them to amp it up a bit during production, though. They changed their pre-production process for fights since 6.0. Now, section leaders just do a preliminary check where they give feedback about the fight concepts and mechanic ideas, and then a final check once everything is done to make sure it all works and the numbers are good. In the past, leaders were a lot more hands-on with iterative feedback, which is a huge workload for Yoshi-P in particular. His erroneous extreme feedback was that it was a bit too honest, and to amp it up a bit. Asura will be implemented as a trial in-game sometime after JP FanFest. Yojimbo was, back in 2019, was seen as too hard for a FanFest trial due to the situation where you're put in there. Control scheme, UI, strangers, unfamiliar job. So they reevaluated what their goals were for Asura, and felt that the completion rate was where they wanted it to be this time. The last Alliance raid might be stronger than usual this time. Remember when I told you guys? Derek lets on that he doesn't fight very much. That he doesn't know how to, he's not a big fighter. Bullshit. Bullshit. Oshan is gonna be a baller. And I'm gonna say this right now. The Watcher is gonna fuck us up. And I can't wait, dude. Both the scenario writer and battle team for Myths of the Realm were made up of mostly younger and newer people. They've adjusted the rewards of Alliance Raid Roulette to be consistent with how much time you'd spend in a given instance to make up for the eye-level cheese removal. Ah, that's good. Yoshi and some development staff did feel bad at times for removing mechanics for trust support, but felt that it was important both in terms of maintainability and playability in the future, as well as giving a better onboarding process should 4 new players all match into the same dungeon. Trust implementation and management was very hard and usually took a skilled veteran on the development team to do. No concrete plans on making old 8-man content doable with trusts. It's easy to do trust for 4-man content, so some of those fights might have to be made 4-man if it ever happened, but Yoshi feels strongly about having the final boss trials always be 8-man. No firm decisions here yet. Their data says a huge number of people have engaged with variant dungeons in their own way. Huh. The 615 Criterion dungeon will receive an increase in rewards compared to the past 2. Thank God, dude. Thank God. More rewards, an increase in rewards. Thank you. What that means, though, I don't know. But thank God, dude. They will consider feedback on this before determining the 7.x Criterion rewards. There will be a title for clearing all 3 Criterion dungeons from 6.x, but they're considering how else they could reward that to see if they can get it done in time. 6.55's relic step will be tomes again. I mean, at this point, I am not surprised. Whatever. They settled on tomes due to looking at how data for how many weapons were made by players in past relic content. Yoshi acknowledges, though, that, however, there are some people who say that this reinforcement method is sloppy. So it's difficult. Some people may dislike doing elaborate things like the old weapon enhancement content, while others may feel that the enhancement methods like this one are not enough. I think this is probably not compatible. I don't agree with this. This is such bullshit. Look, dude. Make the first one a journey. Make subsequent ones a tome farm. This is not that difficult, dude. This really is not that difficult. Make the first one a journey. Make subsequent relics a tome farm. It is not that complex. It really is not. It really is not. They settle on tomes as these days playing multiple jobs is much more common, sure, and they think tomes being something that naturally accumulates as you play makes it best to suit your individual playstyle, sure, maybe on subsequent playthroughs, yes, on alts, I would agree with that. I don't agree with that for the mains. I feel like that is... as someone who as one of the rare few who actually enjoys the Manderville storyline and their lore, it's kind of disappointing to hear that. It's like kind of insane to me. And they think tomes being... Okay, yeah. The Manderville relics have the highest completion rate of any relic so far. Yeah, no shit. I hate to say this, man, but it's because it's easy and because there's... It's because there's not a lot of other things to do. Okay? The more elaborate they make the relic content / grind, the fewer people make one. I'm curious what the Manderville relic completion is per stage. I would love to see that data. I would love to see that data. How many people completed the first stage? How many people completed the second, third, etc.? Because I want to see the fall off. Because I feel like there very well may be one. That doesn't mean taking away content. Regardless, like, I'm not really sure what you mean. I will say I'm one of the players that looked at the high requirements investments of an ARR relic and went, no thanks, but I have 6 or 7 Endwalker ones. Right, but what, again, these arguments don't have to be mutual, like, this is not a mutually exclusive situation. And by that I mean, like, you can have both. There is absolutely no reason why there cannot be an intricate and interesting progression system to get your first relic for whatever job you want to get it for. And then they're going to see, yeah, they're going to see high engagement as a success, and that worries me. Yeah, I don't like that. It sounds very World of Warcraft Blizzard-y. More people made it, therefore it's better. No, that's not the way, that's not the logical solution. That is not the logical solution. Engagement does not equal better. That's not fucking true. And that's a very Blizzard way of looking at things. Very Blizzard way of looking at things. I'm sorry, but like this, like, I get that there's different viewpoints, but this idea that there's no compatibility between the two is, and again, this is paraphrased and stuff, but this just like not, it's just not fucking, I'm sorry, but that cannot be reality, dude. That cannot be reality. You put in whole systems like the Island Sanctuary, like Variant and Criterion dungeons. You've been overhauling trusts and all of that stuff. You've been overhauling old content. You really are trying to tell me that you can't figure out how to make the relic meaningful? I just can't fucking fathom that. I can't. It's really not conceptually difficult. It's so dumb. The way it is now is just people play a bit, the patch, then wait for the next patch to come while not being subscribed. Then they come back at the next patch, buy the relic for 1.5k, which is easily farmed in a couple of days, even for casuals. It's dumb. There's an inherent conflict between people that enjoy weapon enhancement as content and people that want a system that makes it easy to obtain weapons. Satisfying both is very hard. I'm sure that it is. Chat, am I going? I can't be. Am I this full of myself, or does this not seem like that difficult of a solution to come up with? I really don't understand this. Just do both. Just make the first one a quest, like it has been, and then your subsequent relics you can get with tomes. I just don't. Shit, you could even make relics like better in a sense, because what you could do is you could make it, check this out. What if you started with a Black Mage relic, okay? You get your Black Mage relic to its first step, okay? Then you go and farm some tomes and you make your summoner weapon. And then for the next set, you're like, you know what, dude, I think I want to do progression as summoner, or I want to do this thing as summoner. I like the look of summoner better, okay? Then you have 2 complete stage 1 weapons where you can go, okay, I'm going to take my summoner weapon that I got with tomes, and I'm going to do the quest, the new quest segment as summoner. I'm going to get the new content, the new part of the storyline as summoner, and then from that I'm going to unlock my next relic step. And then I can go back and upgrade my Black Mage relic now with tomes to the new relic step. And then you could do that as many times as you want. You could pick, you could choose which ones you want to fucking have. Like, I just don't understand why there has to be a separation. Like, why they have to be, why you can't have both. So that's what I would say. I'll stop. I mean, I'm just ranting at this point. I'm looping. But I don't understand why you can't just have both. I don't know if engagement's even relevant. I feel like most people just buy relics for other classes because there's nothing else to spend those tomes on. Shallow Greed, that's a great point. Is buying the relic inherently a great metric for engagement? Because think about it this way. What is the engagement of the content? Tome farming. And what are you doing to engage in said tome farming? You're doing all the other stuff that you're already doing. So if the metric by which they establish a sense of engagement is how many purchases of the weapons they have, that's not a very good metric of engagement, because You're just having people spending a resource on something that they're inherently going to gain anyway. They're inherently getting the resource. They just have something to spend it on now. That doesn't mean that they are going out of their way to engage with the content because they're actively searching for the currency to buy the weapon. That's not necessarily true. You can't make the assumption that they are or that they're not, right? So I don't think it's a great measure of engagement, at least in my opinion, because you're literally just throwing your players a currency and saying, go buy this. And then saying, they're engaging with it, therefore it's better. Nah, bro, that's some Blizzard logic, and I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. They'll take feedback into account for 7X's Relic series. Well, I hope that Manderville is not just off the table, because you talk about an alien fucking symbiote species that came from another world that has Superman powers. You give him an entire storyline that is somehow tied to this relic that isn't really tied to it at all. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. The physical material that you're collecting is a meteorite, which is inherently like cosmic fall from the sky type shit. It's just so stupid. Are we full? No. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'm gonna say it, chat. I'm gonna say it. The relics feel like they were supposed to have Manderville as an exploration zone, and it didn't happen. That's what it feels like to me. You can, and not saying that's the truth, that's the way it feels to me. It feels like everything was set up for us to potentially have some type of Manderville exploration zone, and they just didn't do it. I just don't understand. It seems like such a huge missed opportunity. I just don't get it. We already have cool weapons for tomes. The ones from the contest are amazing. I want to do something different for my relic. I mean, that's why they're called a relic after all, not tomestone weapons. True. You know, it would be fun if they did one relic step that worked like a Wondrous Tales book. You had to do 9 to 16 of the objectives to progress it, but the steps are an assortment of everything. I could be okay with that. That way you get to pick and choose what you want, but there is always going to be something that's more efficient. It seems like their ability to balance bingo board type shit like that is really bad. So now it seems extra tomes are just dumped on relics you don't have. And that is the whole point, that it takes the wind out of the sails for any sense of relic progression. Because I think, at least from these paraphrased quotes, I think maybe what Yoshi is kind of missing here is that, like, we're looking, it feels like we're comparing and contrasting two extreme, like, how do I put this? Like, it does feel like we're comparing the extremes and saying that they're incompatible. I don't think that's the right thing to do. Like, people say, like, you can't have it be so fucking easy that there is literally no progression whatsoever besides farming tomes. Like, you can't, that's on the extreme end of, like, not engaging at all. Like, you just are doing other content that you normally would do and getting a currency. That's where we exist now, in my opinion. So for Yoshi to say, like, in some weird, like, in some sense that this that we exist in is almost like the middle ground is so fucking weird to me. Because it's like, how do you get it to be more casual than this? You just do the quest and then they just give you the weapon? Maybe, like, they just take out the farm completely? Like, what? It doesn't cost any tomestones, you just go get it? Because that's like, how else do you make it easier than what it is right now? I don't know that you can, besides just giving the weapons. There needs to be a tangible effort required, not just something that comes to you as you sit there scratching your ass. That's kind of how I feel too, but then people are like, well, I don't want it to be, you know, I don't want it to be too hard. I don't think there being a tome alternative, but there should be another option for people that want to engage with the game that is more efficient. I don't think I'm not really sure. I kind of, tome alternative is a bad idea. Yeah, I think of it as a replacement as a bad idea. I definitely think that if you, once again, that if you just make the first time through a storyline with progression and a quest and some grinding and all that stuff, similar to Eureka, similar to Bajia with an exploration zone, you do that kind of stuff, even without an exploration zone. And then you make subsequent relics easy to get. I just don't understand how that could be a problem. I don't see any issue with it. I just don't see any issue. It seems like the best of both worlds. You get that first initial experience, the one that some of us are after, And, you know, it's not overwhelming because subsequent relics, and that's the argument being made here. How many relics are being made, right? And how many more relics we come back to are being made. That's also part of why I want to see the stats for how many people made the first step of the relic, how many people made the second step, because I'm very curious to see how many people continued with it. So, let's go down here. They will take feedback into account. The crafter gatherer relic step, final step, will be difficult, but not required for any 6.x crafts. Okay. PvP iteration will continue into 7.x, including Crystal Conflict, Frontlines, and Rival Wings. Island Sanctuary gets small updates in 7.0, but there's no plans for that to continue through 7.x. They have other lifestyle content in mind instead. If feedback is different, they might reconsider. Oof. 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 Island Sanctuary will probably get ranked 20 in cap. I mean, I'm fine with it not going on forever, but this is a very Blizzard thing to do. Let's make a system and only have it exist within the scope of one expansion, and then abandon it after that. I mean, is that not what's happening here? Is this not a very Blizzard thing to do? If feedback's different, though. But I don't really engage with Island Sanctuary, so I'm not going to champion for it. It's just an interesting decision. The Allied Beast Tribe Catboy will show up again. I don't know who the fuck that is, but okay. Getting Phil on stage was not easy, but Yoshi really wanted it since Phil was one of Microsoft's biggest advocates for getting XIV on the platform. The Fall Guys collab will be limited time, periodic content, and not a permanent fixture. Darn. Probably means not many people touched it. They did that with Squadrons as well. Trust replaced it, basically. True. That's absolutely a Blizzard thing to do, and one of the first systems in my mind that got abandoned like that. Yeah. That means Allied Beast Tribe Quest, probably. Well, yeah. Allied Tribe Quest. Why are we calling Beast Tribe still? I wonder what they'll replace the island with. Maybe better player housing? They have other lifestyle content in mind. Maybe public venues? Dude, how sick? Would it be kind of sick if you could pay like an NPC a gil fee to like rent a venue, like a public venue, and like use like a public stage in the open world to like do events and stuff, concerts or whatever? That'd be fucking dope. Give us some stages. Give us some arenas. Give us Blitzball. Other lifestyle content. So Blitzball? Blitzball's not a game. Blitzball is life.
No Blitzball!